Hello, everybody. It is Seth Apter. I am here with another demo. Hoping you're all doing well and are having a creative week. Hey there. So I am excited about today. It is a rare demo that I'm doing today that has no wet involved. So there's no paint, there's no ink, there's no mess to clean up. But I just want to again say hello and welcome you to my studio. Welcome you to my house. All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to do what I'm calling stitched bits, which if you say fast is not G-rated. And basically, if you want to join me, you're going to need very little today. Loose scraps of paper, a little bit of glue stick, some washi or pet tape, and needle, thread, and it will be helpful to have an awl, but you don't have to have one. So the idea is that I am going to stack these pieces of paper in a way that's pleasing to my eye. I am going to probably potentially be adding some of the pet tape. If you don't know what pet tape is, I'll tell you when we get there. And then I'm going to stitch it together. And these are going to just be collage elements that are here and available. But basically, I'm just going to start. I pulled scraps, a limited number, in two color ways. So I chose ones that were, in one of my go-tos color, sort of rusty, vintagey, sepia tones. And this maybe crosses both. And then I picked ones that were, for me anyway, a little bit brighter. For some people, none of these are bright, except maybe that one. And I'm going to think about maybe crossing them, but mostly making some bits for both. Okay, so we are going to use these two piles. I think I'm actually going to start with the brighter pile and begin to make a stack. And let's just see what I got here. I love these bright colors. These were created in a demo that I did, a Facebook Live demo using distress inks and a gel plate. So this is basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to tear. I didn't mention earlier that I might use a ruler, but I like to tear with a ruler. I get a little bit of a softer tear, but I still get a somewhat straight edge. I really, really love that element there. So, and I don't want the bit to be that big. So the first thing I do is I'm basically choosing a base piece for my stitched bit. And that's what it's going to be. And then I'm going to tear a little bit more randomly. So I don't have quite the serious linear edges. There's going to be some linear edges, but I don't want it to be that linear. And then I'm just going to look through what I have. And really, I have very little. I really want you to note that you don't need a huge amount. And sometimes it's better, in fact, just to pull out a relatively small amount. I love, love, love this piece. This is a vintage, actually antique piece of paper from an Asian book that I pulled out. And I just splashed on one of my favorite inks, the indigo ink from Fiber and Mud. Yeah, okay. All right, so let's just put this stuff aside for now. And this was originally my base. But, I think I actually like, I'm going to square it off a little bit. I like that coming through. And I really want you to know that it's really good to remember that just because this is that size and it's a thing of beauty, you don't necessarily have to show it all. Remember, this is mixed media. So you can absolutely 100% cover up. And that's really key. You want to cover up. You want to let loose and not get attached to any particular layer. Okay, so I'm just playing here, guys. This is just totally intuitive and nothing more. And I'm hoping that you're doing it as well. I'm feeling like I need something a little bit richer and darker. It's getting quite pale. I don't have much of that, but I do have that piece that I was going to use for the other colorway. But I think it might be better. Yeah, okay. I need some contrast like that. This is kind of cool, right? The beauty of the bits is that we all have so many of them that really, even if I cover most of what's there, it's still going to allow us to have a gazillion other bits in our stash. So now my decision is, do I add something very linear over it? I think I might like that. So my only question now is, do I want to add a little bit of linearity to the very top? And I think that I do. What do we think about this as a scrap bit? I think it's okay. Again, I don't want to get too caught up in, is it perfect? Because this is mixed media. It's never perfect. I'm going to do that though. Have a little bit of that white contrast. Yeah, we get out our glue stick because we really want this glued together before we begin to stitch. I just like that little bit of white peeking up. So I am going for it. I'm going to get rid of some of this so I can use it for another element. Randomly add the glue. Oh, I like it more like that. Yeah. Okay, so this is just a happy accident where that gesso, it tore right at the gesso. So even though there's glue on it, we're gonna somehow make this work. There's glue on the wrong spot. I'm gonna do that. Oh, yeah. That makes me really happy. Really, 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 really happy. Can you tell that I'm happy? If I put this on black, you're gonna see what that looks like. So the other option I have is to use some of these pet tapes. So those of you who don't know what pet tapes are polyester film tapes. They're almost like packing tape, but not exactly. They're translucent and clear. They have a protective backing on it, and they're sticky, and they're overprinted. Wherever the printing isn't, remains translucent. So I'm kind of looking to see if it might be interesting even to take a small element of one of these. Oh my God, that's it right there. It's perfect. So I am going to cut this out. And the reason why I say it's perfect, because do you see in that element there, these are actually two little rectangles that are glued down to another piece of paper. It fits perfectly with that window. So that window is going to become half of that window. And then I'm going to just place it down. But I'm going to place it down, I think, that way. Yeah, because I don't want to hide all that. Yep, I think it looks good that way. And I actually think it balances out this piece, interestingly enough. So I'm going to take off the backing paper. The amazing thing about PlusMinus as well is, did you see how easily I pulled off that backing? And normally when there's a demo and there's people watching, when you have to take off something like that, you can't get it off. Now, I don't even need extra glue for this. In part because I'm going to stitch it, but even if I miss the stitching, this stuff is pretty gluey. And I also don't want to add any extra cloud. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to burnish it with my finger, and I am beyond thrilled with that addition. Threaded some needles just to speed things up. Usually what I do when I go through something this thick is I use my awl. I can get a little bit more power. So I'm gonna, I think, do a really basic running stitch. Actually, I'm going to use the thickest thread I have. It's a wax linen thread. And it's just basically white-ish. But you know what I want to do? I want to make it a little red-ish. But the way I make it reddish is I go ahead and I get some ink pads and I just kind of randomly run it through. And I love that. Yeah, I love the addition of that color. Let me say it again. I usually wax all my threads before I put them through paper. Once the thread is waxed, it's less risk of tearing the paper. So sometimes I just run the thread through this large chunk of beeswax, a la this. And it just allows me to thread the needle better, but in particular, it stops me from tearing the paper. All right, so that's the first one. So let's find it. I'm going to start from the back. I could start from the front and let the tail hang, but I'm not going to do that. And I'm just going to start with a little bit of a running stitch. Can you guys see that? Is it even clear there? Yeah, I mean, there it is. I could definitely darken that if I want to. And I could darken it kind of the same way that I did it originally with some ink. I'm going to get some ground espresso because it's just darker. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just use my finger to do this. So then it appears a little bit more clearly. And you know what? I think I'm going to make it stronger. And I think I am going to go back through the holes so that I have one continuous line here. And now what I'm basically going to do is I have a little bit of a tail here. I could try to tie it off. And we almost have a bit. But honestly, you know what? It is just calling me to put some X's in the windows. I hope you guys agree with that. So we're just going to use this as a guide. The pet tape that I used here is easy to pierce through. And I'm going to use red thread. But who knows me knows about me and red thread. All right, so there's my first X. I now have what I am considering a completed stitched bit. So thank you guys for watching. I am going to be continuing working with these stitched bits, both to make them as well as to add them to other artwork. There may be a follow-up demo that you can find here on YouTube. And if not, you can certainly just look on my website, sethapter.com, and you can click over to my Instagram and Facebook pages, because I will probably, which means definitely, be photographing these stitch bits as I make them and use them and putting them on my social media sites. Thanks so much for following along in the demo. Appreciate you all, guys. Everybody take good care, and I hope to see you back soon. Bye.